Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. I just got back from vacation. I have some goodies that I got on vacation. One of those goodies being a sunburn and a mysterious bug bite that everyone kept telling me was a tick bite, and now it's gone, so I don't think it's a tick bite. Somebody even tried to tell me it's a brown recluse bite. It's not. I got like one good beach day out of that because it rained the entire time I was there. I went to Savannah, Georgia. Pretty fun. I got like one good beach day. I bought these fans. Look at this. And then I'll show the other one. I can't like fling it out like that one because it's a bit more solid. See? It's an actual like fan. See? It's pretty cool. This one is very nice for when it gets hot. Obviously, it's a fan. But it's just a little annoying to fold back up. A little gripe with the store that I bought this from. It's called Pangea. I don't think it was there last time I went to Savannah, because I don't remember it being there. But can I just say, I am so sick and tired of white people opening stores and then selling products from other cultures and appropriating them. Pangea is designed to be like, oh, we're all one world culture. And so she just sells a bunch of stuff that I don't know if the cashier's the owner, but I would presume maybe. But it's just an excuse to sell stuff like this. And to sell rocks that look like penises. So that was actually kind of funny. I'm sure I could maybe show it. Maybe? Let me look at how phallic it is first, and then I will. Maybe not the close-up image, but like there, it's on a little wheel thing. I mean, you know, it was funny, but like, come on. Do I have any other cool photos or anything to show? Not really. I forgot I took a photo of that G.I. Joe thing. And the Pip-Boy. There was this Star Wars Power of the Jedi figure. I believe it's original to Lucasfilm, like pre-Disney era, late 90s, early 2000s era, which is nice because a lot of those toys nowadays come from Disney. And if so, it's in pretty good condition. But it's Obi-Wan Kenobi in cold weather gear. Let me look this up. Let me pull this up. Cold weather suit was used by Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was still a young Padawan. That parka was in fact of ancient make and had been passed down from generation to generation of Jedi before it came to Kenobi. Yeah, but like, why is this a thing? Here's a picture of the figure. I don't think this is I don't think this is a Disney era figure. I think this is a Lucasfilm one. It had copyright Hasbro and Lucasfilm. I don't know if it had Hasbro on it, but it has Lucasfilm on it, like 96, I think, or something like that. I don't know. It was old. It didn't have the Disney logo on it at all. Look at this. This is what the figure looked like. I mean, duh. I literally have a picture of it right there on my phone, but I didn't want to keep showing my phone. What is that exactly? Like, what is that supposed to... What was that supposed to be from? Also, speaking of Star Wars. Cool little Darth Vader keychain thingy. And then, like, here's the Wikipedia article for it. The only source... Oh, it is Hasbro. The only source is the Hasbro toy. He was sent by the Jedi High Council to investigate the tundra of Ando Prime in search of a Force Nexus. He wore it with a pair of custom-fitted ice boots with talon-like metal griffins. That's so stupid, dude. I kind of love that, actually. Why is there such a detailed description of this suit? Where else does Ando Prime show up? Crime War. Oh, I feel like I've seen this planet before. Cool. Appears in a hologram in Attack of the Clones. Didn't know that. Interesting. What about in canon? Where is it in canon? It's in the Skywalker saga? What hologram is this planet appearing in? Whatever. I'm too deep in the weeds, off topic, but yeah, it was a fun trip. I can't stop thinking about this crab dip that I ate. A place called Fiddler's. It's called Fiddler's, and I had this delicious crab dip. It was in like a bread bowl too, so you could tear the bread off and eat it with the dip on it. Pretty cool. Very yummy. I very much enjoyed my crab dip. Usually, like, when I get the main entree, the appetizer kind of sits off to the side. Like, I forget about it. And I focus on the entree. Not this crab dip. I was still eating the crab dip. I got my Alfredo, and I took my bread that came with it, and I dipped it in the crab dip. Unprecedented for me to continue eating an appetizer well after my meal has arrived. So yeah, that was my time on vacation. Before I get to the political stuff, Deftones has been releasing music. They've released 2 songs. They have an album coming out. Please go listen to them. If you like old Deftones, you're going to like these songs. All right, that's all I have to say. I'm going to review the album when it comes out. But that's all I have to say for right now. Let's talk about the New York mayoral race. You heard? Let's talk about the New York mayoral race. Apparently, I want to go in a certain order. So, just to reassure all of you, Zohran Mamdani is leading in the polls by 19 points as of August 12th. He's leading in the polls by 19 points. Bro's doing great. Cuomo and Adams not doing so hot. The Republican a joke candidate. That dude's such a clown. Nobody's even thinking about him. Andrew Cuomo decided to start attacking Zohran Mamdani for paying $2,300 a month in rent in New York City. Oh my god, the amount of phlegm in my throat. Now, that's a really dumb thing to go after him for, considering that's like the average low rent rate in New York City. And the fact that Andrew Cuomo lives in a way more expensive home and doesn't even really live in New York City, unlike Mamdani, who does. And so it's just a really weak line of attack. He's running as an independent now, and so he's just throwing all the petty attacks towards Zohran Mamdani. Well, Zohran Mamdani heard that Andrew Cuomo was coming after his rent payments and just decided to go, well, how come you're connected to Jeffrey Epstein? Like, just the immediate bomb that he dropped on him. I'm going to play the campaign ad, but it's so good. It's so good. It's on Twitter, unfortunately, but and I'll show you Andrew Cuomo's response because it's so lame, dude. It's so lame.
Years ago, Andrew Cuomo resigned in disgrace, and you probably know why.
The governor's office kept the nursing home death data secret.
Cuomo aggressively groped an aide.
Inappropriately touched a female state trooper.
I'm glad we're still talking about the nursing home thing. I am glad we're still bringing that up in regards to Cuomo. Like, I don't think people understand just how bad of a governor Andrew Cuomo is. Especially when someone like Jay Schlatt is like, says something about like, did you even care about my grandmother? Like, I'm glad people still bring this up.
Use of state resources for a COVID-19 memoir.
Less well known is what he spent the last 4 years doing, besides getting trounced in the Democratic primary. In 2022, Cuomo started Innovation Strategies LLC to represent individuals and corporations in a variety of matters. Definitely not vague. Last year, it raked in more than $500,000. Who paid for Cuomo's services? He refuses to say. But what
keep in mind, by the way, Andrew Cuomo is also now attempting to support Benjamin Netanyahu's case in his war criminal case. So do with that information what you will, but notorious genocidal war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, Andrew Cuomo is attempting to help his defense in his court case in the international court. So like that alone. Anyway.
Journalists have been able to piece together is troubling. In April, Bloomberg revealed that Cuomo advised a cryptocurrency exchange based in the Seychelles as it faced federal investigations. Then in May, Politico reported that Cuomo failed to disclose $2.6 million in stock options.
Based. Gotta love it when a politician continues to have stocks. I think that stock trading in the government should be illegal. And I'm pretty sure, didn't they try to pass an act about that called the Pelosi Act? And like one Republican voted in favor of it, and he's literally the one that proposed it, I'm pretty sure. I think it should be illegal to trade stocks as a government official. Like, if you are elected or appointed by an elected official in any way, shape, or form, I'm not talking about like federal employees that like crunch the numbers in the Social Security office. I'm not talking about people like that. I'm saying like if you were elected to office, you should not be allowed to trade stocks. You should not be allowed to own stocks. If you are appointed to office, like the Secretary of State or like a judge, for that matter, you should not be allowed to own stocks. If you have any kind of governmental control over companies that are publicly traded, you're already compromised. Like, I don't even think it should be legal for employees of companies to trade stocks of the company they work for. Like, I don't even think that should be allowed either. But that's a whole separate conversation. I think it's insane that politicians are allowed to own stocks, let alone this many stocks. Like, this valuable amount of stocks. I think this is ridiculous and really shows the state of our country. I mean, it really does show how corrupt the United States is.
To the New York City conflicts of
and why it's so sought after by the rich and wealthy, why so many wealthy people live here, because they know they can just take advantage of this. The system is designed to work this way, pretty much.
His excuse, the stocks were technically owned by Innovation Strategies, LLC.
Yeah, exactly. He's using a shell company, pretty much. That's the whole point of his company. Notice how he doesn't use, as much as he loves to milk this name, Cuomo, notice how he doesn't use it at all in the name of this company, because he's trying to keep this company on the down low, man. He's trying to keep it on the down low. He can do his little shady side business crap without people noticing, because who's going to pay attention to a company called Innovation Strategies? And he can own his stocks and do all his shady business using this company. If he wanted a company that everyone knew about, he would have named it like Cuomo Strategies or some crap, with as much as he loves to use that name for publicity.
Of which he's the sole proprietor. Finally, in June, the New York Times uncovered that Cuomo had worked with his longtime friend Andrew Farkas on a luxury marina project in Puerto Rico. Farkas' previous partner on luxury marinas in the Caribbean, Jeffrey Epstein.
I love that he shows the drone shot of Epstein's island. Wow, dude, that's insane.
Caribbean, Jeffrey Epstein.
We had a finance chair like none other, Andrew Farkas.
That's the thing about Andrew Cuomo.
That's insane that there's an Andrew Cuomo Epstein connection. And I'm pretty sure there's some new information about that came out today. I haven't read much about it yet, but I'm pretty sure there's even more info about Andrew Cuomo's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Which of course there is, dude. Jeffrey Epstein did so much business in New York. He fucking lived there. Like, amongst other places that he lived as well. But, like, of course the Cuomo family is going to have some connection to Epstein. Every powerful figure in New York, I would say it's reasonable to assume they have in some way, shape, or form a connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Which is also why Donald Trump has a connection to Jeffrey Epstein as well. I mean, he's literally a New York businessman. His family has done business in New York for decades now.
Once you think you found out about all of his scandals, you find out about another, and then another, and then probably...
Bro mows through all of these, but these are some crazy-ass scandals, man. I mean, dude has so many. Whoa. Cuomo's war chest. 425,000 from... Whoa. Dang, bro.
Another. But if my friend, the disgraced former governor of the state of New York, feels that's unfair, Habibi, release your client list.
That's funny. Yeah, let's see who Cuomo's working with. I love this ad. I have nothing to add to it. I love it. I love this ad. I love it. I love Zohran Mamdani. I wish there were more politicians like him. I've seen a couple of leftists try to purity test him by saying he's not extreme enough on certain issues. We're cooked as a movement if we continue to do this. There are legitimate things to criticize politicians for, like AOC's recent blunders with Israel and her weird, like, hesitancy to just flat out, like, deny arms shipments to Israel's defense systems, and this weird, like, song and dance around calling it like a genocide and stuff. There are actual things to criticize certain left-wing posturing people in the government for. Like Bernie Sanders is the same way. He gets invites from J Street to come and speak, which J Street's a liberal Zionist organization. He won't call it a genocide. He's very, like, weird about this entire topic, and it's like, those guys, yeah, you can criticize them. What has Zohran Mamdani done that we should be, like, purity testing him for? He's the perfect candidate. And if his grocery store thing works, it's going to be a great example for more cities across the U.S. I'm excited for that candidate in Minneapolis. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he just primaried the incumbent mayor and is on track to head to the general election and probably will win. I mean, I would assume so, that he will win. I believe he is a Somalian immigrant. But yeah, like, you know, it's cool. He runs a similar platform to Zohran Mamdani. I don't really understand why leftists are kind of like throwing out a perfect... It's not a whole lot of leftists. It's a very like niche group of leftists that love to purity test everything and love to shame. It's a very niche piece of them, because most leftists love this guy. I mean, shit, dude, 185,000 likes on this tweet for a New York City candidate, and he's got nationwide support from leftists, and even from a lot of liberals too, and from a lot of even conservatives that are sick of, you know, the current politics in this country and just want to see something new tried out. My coworker, who's a conservative, he votes fairly conservative, but he has a lot of progressive tendencies. Even he's like, I want to see what will happen when this guy gets elected. I want to see how it goes. Might as well try it out. I mean, we haven't really allowed anybody to try this, even internationally, so let this guy try it out. That was what he said. So, you know, this guy has a lot of support. Love Zohran Mamdani. So this ad came out. Andrew Cuomo decided to respond, like, in the replies to the tweet. Obviously, it's not actually Andrew Cuomo. It's like some fucking staffer that decided to respond to this. After an ad where Zohran Mamdani accuses him of shady business dealings, not even accuses, just brings to light Cuomo's shady business dealings on the side. His scandal with stock options. His scandal with inappropriately touching women. His, Jeffrey Epstein connection. And the fact that he has this, like, weird secret side business with, like, a hidden client list. He's getting a lot of donor money from shady individuals. The response from the Cuomo team is this.
$300 for my one bedroom in Astoria.
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 $300 for my...
First of all, why did they cut the 20 part of that off? It's just $300 for my... bad editing. Editing. You're busted. You're washed. Get a new team, bozo. This is so dumb and lame and cooked. Also, yeah, a one bedroom in Astoria being $2,300 a month. You don't think the guy that wants to freeze rent wants to freeze it for a reason? That's a ridiculous price for a one bedroom. But that's the norm in New York City, pretty much. You know, maybe not for like a one bedroom. I'm sure you could find a one bedroom in New York City for like $1,400, maybe. I don't know. I don't live there. But I've heard it's outrageously expensive. So, you know, if anything, this actually shows that the rent market in New York City is busted to hell if bro's paying this much for a one bedroom. I mean, come on. But this is such a weak response. You know, Zohran goes, why do you have this weird connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and why are you doing shady business dealings on the side? And Andrew Cuomo's response is, if socialist, why rent apartment for $2,300 in New York? That's his response. He doesn't even deny any of the crap brought up in the ad. Like, he doesn't even deny any of that. He just immediately goes, yeah, but like, what about your apartment? Which, this right here is what incited them to make this ad, pretty much. Like, this ad is in response to this, so it's just so weak. It's so dumb. Oh, man. Yeah, and even more this is why I can't tell if Andrew Cuomo's account is ran by a staffer, but I'm pretty sure it is. Like somebody replied to one of his tweets saying, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." Clearly a dig at him. And he responds, "I'd like fries with that." It's a staffer, bro. It's not him. It's some idiot millennial staffer. Also, I really do fucking hate this guy's photo. I just hate how this guy looks. He's so stupid. But that's not we're not talking about his appearance. Let's talk about the tweet he released. Of all cringe. In like Game of Thrones style fashion, he tweeted out, "In case you forgot, I'm Andrew Cuomo, son of Mario, grandson of Andrea. Welcome to the heavyweight bout, Zohran Mamdani. This is a 2-man race, and you look tired already. It's just the second round." Absolute cringe. In the era of social media running political campaigns, this is the worst thing he could have tweeted. Like, I think if he had just tweeted out a racial slur, that might have gone over better than this. Maybe not, but like, you get what I'm saying. This is just so cringe. He also said it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Wow. At Grok, tell us about the sexual harassment claims against Cuomo. Oh my gosh. Andrew Cuomo faced sexual harassment allegations from 11 women. Dude, that's crazy that Grok just immediately started pulling it out. Maybe that's what he means when he says he fights. Oof, man. Sometimes the Grok AI thing is like kind of funny. As much as I hate AI, sometimes people pull this thing out like at like the funniest times. Like, what a fire ass thing from Sober John. Thank you, Sober John. Appreciate it. Now you might be wondering, like, where are the other candidates during this race? I have nothing in the doc for Curtis, by the way. Like, literally nothing. He's just not here. He doesn't really do much. Like, he goes on Fox News and says some shit, and that's it. He doesn't really do anything. So there's not much to really say about him other than he's a clown. I believe his group that he like leads or something was on Fox News a few years ago, like beating up an immigrant live on TV. That's like really the only thing I think I know him from. So the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, tweeted out, "Deep down, I think I must be a little bit Dominican because marching down 6th Avenue in the Dominican Day Parade just felt like coming home." So if you're wondering what the other candidate in the race, Eric Adams, is up to, he's feeling a little Dominican. Oh, man. This dude's so lame. Inside me, I know I must be a little Dominican. He said it again. Oh, boy. Oh, never mind. He said it in another language. Ah, I see. Grok, if you don't need to auto-translate the second tweet. Alright. But also, that's not the only thing Eric Adams is doing. Eric Adams, for mayor, Twitter account, @Adams War Room. Whatever that is. This account tweeted out, and I can't show it yet because the community note's on there, and I want to save the community note for after. New poll among Jewish voters. Eric Adams at 25%, Andrew Cuomo at 21%, and Curtis, I don't know how to say his last name. I never know how. Curtis, 14%. Jewish voters are behind Eric Adams. Now, where is a certain someone that's supposed to be on this poll? Weird. I wonder where a certain somebody is. Perhaps we're missing the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, on this poll. And that would be because while Eric Adams, yes, is sitting at a 25% approval rating in this poll amongst Jewish voters, what he fails to mention is that Zohran Mamdani, who they've been trying to smear as anti-Semitic for months now, is sitting at a fat 37%. Now you tell me, what's more anti-Semitic? Saying that you'll arrest Benjamin Netanyahu on sight for being a war criminal, and for saying that you'll only support a version of Israel that has equal rights, or completely cutting 37% of New York City Jews off of a poll? What's more anti-Semitic? Because I would say it's fairly anti-Semitic to remove 37% of Jewish voters out of a poll because it doesn't fit your narrative. To silence 37% of New York City's Jewish voters, according to this poll, that seems a bit more anti-Semitic to me than saying that you think Israel should have equal rights and not be an ethno state. So I think the whole framing of Zohran Mamdani supposedly being anti-Semitic, I think that's starting to fall off. I think it's starting to decline. Like, it's not working. They need a new strategy. At this point, they've got to uncover like a secret murder that Mamdani committed. There's literally nothing they can do at this point. So, like I said, he's ahead by 19 points. I mean, knock on wood, bro's got it in the bag. Knock on wood. I'm hopeful. This is like the only bit of hope I have felt. And I said this a full year ago before the DNC. So I hope I don't eat these words. But I have hope. But I also know how fast that can just flush down the toilet. About a year ago, around this exact time, I said I was feeling a bit hopeful with Kamala Harris's campaign. She picked Tim Walz, a seemingly progressive Democrat, and she was running a somewhat more message-focused, less focused on NATO, but more issues-focused campaign. One that seemed to kind of reignite an enthusiasm, a hype kind of feel around the chances of the Democrats beating Trump in that election. It re-invoked a spark in young people. And then I watched the DNC on camera, by the way, and you can see it drained from my face. All of that hope I had, all of that hype and excitement I had, or just the relief that Joe Biden was no longer the candidate and that now we finally had a chance to beat Donald Trump, potentially. All of that hope just wiped away. When she got up on that DNC stage, said we have the most lethal fighting force on the planet, started talking about NATO and our allies, just the classic Joe Biden beats, and then refused to let a Palestinian speaker speak at the DNC. Killed all of the momentum for me. So, I gotta say, I really hope Mamdani can pull this one through. And I want to see his policies work. I want to see... Is Kathy Hochul going to be the governor through this next race? Is she up for re-election? How long has she been the governor for? Is she up for re-election? Let's see. Election. I don't think so. I think her re-election is next year, right? If Kathy Hochul interferes in Mamdani's mission at all, interferes in any way, it's Kathy Hochul, Donald Trump, any representative or senator from New York, if any of them get in the way of Zohran Mamdani's plan and royally screw it over, then campaign on top of that by saying that Mamdani was an ineffective mayor because they actively stood in his way, I'm going to go insane. You know, the establishment wonders why people become radicalized so fast. This is why. I want to see a fully unstopped, just give us at least a year to feel it out. But I would prefer the whole term, obviously. Let him do his thing. The current mayor of New York is compromised by the Trump administration because they're effectively blackmailing him with this DOJ investigation into his Turkish bribery case, where he allegedly took bribes from a Turkish group to speed along embassy permits or building permits for some kind of Turkish building. I think it was for the embassy. And he accepted flights and all this crap, and they apparently wanted him to denounce the legitimacy of the Armenian genocide or some crap. It's so weird. The Trump administration is holding that information over him. They've effectively said, we won't prosecute you right now for it, but you should kind of do the things we say you should do, or else we might reopen the case. I just want to see a successful democratic socialist mayoral term. I don't know. That election's stressing me out. The primary made me super worried. This one's just stressing me out, even though I shouldn't be stressed. I think he'll do fine. Sheesh, man. I love to yap. Let's talk about some weather. Let's talk about some weather. There's a tropical storm out in the Atlantic right now. At least it was a tropical storm when I wrote it down. Let's see what it turned into. Let me check real quick. Is it already a hurricane now, or? Dang, we've had hurricanes and tropical storms of the same name before. So there's a tropical storm named Tropical Storm Erin, and it's projected to be the first hurricane of the Atlantic season. They're projecting that it'll probably avoid the Bahamas and the Bermuda Islands and everything, or Bermuda and all that. They're projecting it might avoid that, especially with there being a cold front coming apparently. But that's what they're projecting right now. So yeah, pretty cool that we got a tropical storm, I guess. But yeah, so it looks like it's probably going to turn into a hurricane. Apparently, this storm could come straight for the U.S. if it lasts long enough. We've seen hurricanes do it. Y'all know me, I love talking about weather on this podcast. But look at how close it gets. It's going to hit parts of Puerto Rico, potentially, based on this projection. it's gonna graze the Dominican Republic. And here, yeah, you can even see it on the little thing, all the different paths it could possibly take based on different models. They're saying a cold front will probably prevent it from reaching the United States coast. They're saying it's likely to not hit Bermuda at all. So, troubling stuff. I mean, we're barely even into August and into hurricane season, and we're already seeing the start of multiple hurricanes and tropical storms possibly forming. Yeah, I don't know. I just like talking about weather on this podcast, you know. It's fun. I used to talk about it a lot a couple years ago, and then last year I kind of fell off. I just didn't talk about it much. A little bit more news. Hope you're enjoying the episode. If you want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. You can subscribe for $10 a month to get bonus content. Or you can subscribe for $1 or $3 a month if you just want to support us. There's also higher tiers if you want to support us even more, even harder. But you don't have to. So head on over to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. And for $10 a month, you can get the bonus episodes and even bonus content like the outtakes for this little segment. So thanks for supporting us and thanks for listening. Oh gosh, I just typed in the wrong thing. A little bit more news. The Democrats on Twitter tweeted out statehood for DC. Now, the Democrats always do this, right? When there's a Republican in office, they always decide, like, we're going to do the most radical statements or take radical votes. And then when the Democrats get control, they don't do any of that because their whole job is to maintain the status quo. And I don't think it'll ever happen that they give DC statehood. Also, I believe it's unconstitutional as well to some extent. Although I believe Congress has the power to grant DC statehood regardless of what the Constitution says. I believe it gives actually Congress maybe the power to do that. I suppose it's up for interpretation. If you want my opinion, I think DC should have a voting representative in the House and a voting senator in the Senate. I think DC should at least have that. You don't even necessarily need to make it a state. I just think that's what it should have in Congress. That, or make them a fully tax-exempt city. Exempt them from all federal taxes, then. And there you go. There's a whole reason why all their license plate covers, or license plates in general, say no taxation without representation. Pay federal taxes. Let's see if they already pay federal taxes. Whoa. Dang. DC residents pay more in total federal income tax than residents of 22 other states, but they have no representation in Congress? Wow. Yeah, even this person says that they should be taxed as a territory, which means not paying federal income tax. I mean, there you go. At least do that if you're not going to give them representation in Congress. But I bring it up because Donald Trump is trying to weaponize the DC police, which apparently he has constitutional power to do. And that's a bit alarming. Apparently he has the full power to not nationalize, to weaponize the National Guard in DC. He has some kind of influence over the police force there. Congress definitely has influence over it because Congress determines what DC does and doesn't do. When DC passes a city measure to the city council. It goes to the United States Congress. They vote on it, and then they send whatever decision they made off to the president, and the president signs off on it. So that is how laws are passed through the city of Washington, D.C. And yeah, he's trying to weaponize the National Guard there, and he's trying to set up a blueprint for potentially doing that in other major cities across the U.S. Now, he can technically get away with this in D.C. because legally, and Legal Eagle has a nice video about this. Legally, he might have the power to actually do this, and apparently there's some form of precedent that says he can do this. Of course, DC didn't even have like a local government until about 50 years ago. So it seems that the president has full permission to do this, at least. He does not, however, have the ability to do this in other states. Like, he can't go to Atlanta and federalize the National Guard and march them into Atlanta for no reason. Like, he can't just do that. He probably will try to do it, but he has to declare an emergency, he has to do all this stuff. He already tried that in LA. California's suing him over it. I don't think he can successfully do this in other major cities. I think DC is going to be the one exception where he's actually able to do something like this. Yeah, I mean, it's just a full fascist takeover of DC. This all comes from like some guy that worked at the Doge, part of the executive branch, like got assaulted, and then they were like, well, here's our justification, and they went in and tried to federalize the National Guard in DC to like clean up the streets. Like he's federalizing it because there's an emergency, like homeless crisis and rampant crime and all this crap that he's trying to use to justify an emergency to federalize the National Guard and deploy them onto DC. It's ridiculous. I don't know how much more we're going to let him get away with. It's literally been 8 months, and we're letting him get away with all of this stuff. So I don't know what to say about that. For the last thing I'll talk about this episode, really depressing and upsetting news out of Gaza. Whoa. So the IDF murdered and assassinated an Al Jazeera journalist, as well as a few other journalists as well from Al Jazeera. But they were specifically targeting this particular journalist. And I believe you say his name is Anas al-Sharif. I think. I'm not too sure, but I was watching the coverage on this morning. And it's just... it's so upsetting. This guy is a reporter for Al Jazeera. He's been reporting on the ground throughout the entire genocide. And there's like a history of why he became an Al Jazeera reporter. He, you can see him in this footage I'm about to show, where as a little boy, he was on Al Jazeera, like on camera as a little boy during the 2008 Gaza war. Yeah, here's him as a child during the 2008 Gaza war. And here's him now. Well, here's him when he joined Al Jazeera.
تطورات أن وزارة الصحة الفلسطينية سيما في صفوف الأطفال، ونحن طبعا هذا المشهد هو جزء من المعاناة، جزء من المجاعة التي ما زالت متواصلة ومستمرة في داخل القطاع. نتحدث عن نقص جميع المواد الغذائية في داخل القطاع، نقص حليب الأطفال، أدنى المقومات الصحية. في هذا الوقت جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يرتكب مجزرة.
I mean, you want to talk about like bravery. Being a journalist in Gaza, that's brave. It's almost like the press vest is a target for the IDF. That's basically what it is. They've killed hundreds of journalists, like unprecedented numbers of journalists at this point. And every new one, it's just more and more depressing. And this one hit me. Seeing him as a child during the 2008 Gaza war in this clip. I was watching this before I clocked in for work this morning. This genuinely put me in such an awful state of mind. Like, an awful state of mind. Seeing him in this footage as a child and then cutting to now where he's been assassinated by Israel. I don't have the words. I'm not smart enough to articulate the words to describe what I feel from seeing this. I don't have the intelligence to articulate what I feel about this. It's just so, it's depressing and disheartening, and it's upsetting, all of that mixed into one feeling. And he's obviously not the only journalist that's been assassinated. I believe a few other Al Jazeera journalists were also assassinated, amongst other journalists who were also assassinated. And these are all targeted. They know who they're killing when they do this. They're doing it on purpose. And you'll see that they have actually tried to justify this by claiming that he is actually not a journalist and is actually a terrorist in Hamas. And you can blame that Atlantic Council pile of filth, like Al-Khatib, I think his name is. I don't even remember his full name. He's that guy that writes to the Atlantic Council all this Zionist propaganda. He uses his Palestinian identity to grift and make money and justify the murder and the mass slaughter of his people. This dude's disgusting. And he recently came out and wrote something saying that this guy is actually working for Hamas and all this, like, accusing him of being a terrorist and all this stuff. And Israel takes that and they use it as justification to assassinate him. And here is an IDF spokesperson on Sky News claiming that Al Jazeera is Hamas.
Can I just stop you there? Just as a journalist, I would say that Al Jazeera do not say that they support terrorists Hamas. Al Jazeera is an international news organisation, and it certainly doesn't support any particular side.
Al Jazeera had reporters within Hamas, within Israel, on October 7th with Hamas. Al Jazeera are broadcasting Hamas propaganda. Al Jazeera are working for Hamas when they have...
Al Jazeera are using journalists inside Gaza because, like all the rest of the international media, Israel will not allow international journalists into Gaza. Can I just...
I want you to notice how this guy just starts rattling off a ton of accusations that Al Jazeera is working for Hamas, that they are Hamas, that they have journalists within Hamas, that they were present on October 7th with Hamas. Like, just rattling through it desperately. Because this guy probably didn't expect much pushback. Most of the Israeli spokespeople, like the IDF spokespeople and everything, a lot of those guys go on Western media expecting not a lot of pushback. They sanitize what they say. They speak very, very carefully, but they still speak pretty disgustingly about this stuff. And they go on Western media expecting to just be able to rattle off whatever they feel like they can get away with saying. And when this happens, when a reporter pushes back on something they say, they just start going nuts. They just start rattling through the whole script. And the reason why I say they sanitize it for Western media is because if you listen to English translated clips of what they say on Israeli media, they're way more horrific about it. Like, way more disgusting. Like, what's the word? Way more grotesque with it. And a lot more honest. They're very honest about their ethnic cleansing campaign on Israeli media. But a lot of that stuff goes untranslated, and so it's just none of it's in English, and so the English-speaking audiences don't hear it, and so they get this instead of getting the Israeli version, which is the more honest. Yeah, our goal is to wipe them out and achieve a true, full Israel Jewish supremacist state. That is what they say on Israeli media versus Western media, which is what this guy's doing here. And even with this, they push back because they're trying to frame a major news outlet, one of the only journalistic news outlets within the Gaza Strip, being able to report from within the Gaza Strip. They're trying to frame them as being terrorists and to try to discredit them on a national stage. Did you know Al Jazeera is not allowed to be viewed in Israel? When they started doing this genocide, they blocked Al Jazeera from being able to be from being shown in Israel. And it's because they know. It's because they know Al Jazeera won't do what the Times of Israel does, or what Haaretz does, or whatever those other media outlets do. They won't do what they do, which is whitewash all of this and cover for it and defend it and justify it. They'll report the truth, frame it in the most objective way, and the most objective way they frame it shows you the horrors and reality of what's going on in Gaza. So that's what's going on in Israel right now. It really is disgusting what they're doing there. And it's really disgusting how they cover it up and how they justify their actions. Because, I mean, how do you justify assassinating a journalist? You just call him a terrorist, and then everybody, goes, okay, well then I guess it's fine. It's ridiculous. Speaking of Israel, I was unsure if I was going to do this. But I want to touch on it. I don't think I'll go through the whole thing, but I want to touch on this. I want to touch on, because this is getting into dangerous territory. I wasn't going to talk about it anymore because it's stupid and whatnot, but this is getting into a little bit dangerous territory. And it's history revisionism, specifically the justification, revising history to justify one of the most despicable things Israel has done, which is rewriting its origin and rewriting what it did to achieve the state of Israel. This is like going on and revising history, which the U.S. has done for centuries now. Revising history and justifying the Trail of Tears. Justifying the systematic genocide and ethnic cleansing of Native Americans. This is the exact same thing. What I think this clip is him giving his version of the history of Israel. And the way he gives the history is so ridiculous.
There's something about
And warning for the audio on this. I don't know what he's doing, but he does these like little coughs a lot. I'm not really sure why, but it makes it really hard to listen to.
something that I don't think people understand about like the Israeli and the Jewish identity in modern day. There's like a piece of the puzzle that I think people miss, and it's not a value judgment. It's just an explanation.
And keep in mind how much like just word salad he dumps into the microphone during this.
After World War II, Jews all agreed, and somewhat of a pact amongst ourselves, the diaspora.
I don't know what to say about this. This like weird like fantasy fairy tale framing of like after World War II, all of the Jews as a collective, we all decided, like, is this not like a weird way to talk about this?
For everywhere, that we will no longer depend on the generosity of other countries to protect us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We no longer depend on Arabs. We no longer depend on Europeans. Jews have been depending on other governments for thousands of years to keep them safe, and they have continually failed them, and which culminated obviously in the Holocaust.
One, notice how he doesn't mention the United States, because the United States fully backs and supports Israel, and without us, Israel would not exist. But we're about to get into some weird Holocaust revisionism here with him, and he's about to completely revise the history of Israel. If you want the actual history of Israel, it's a little bit more complicated than this. It's not told in this fairy tale setting, and it's a little bit more nefarious as well. It was this radical group, the Zionist group, making a deal with the Great Britain after England took over parts of the Ottoman Empire. They captured historical Palestine, and as well as many other parts of the Middle East. And they made a deal with the Zionists that they would give them a piece of this land in the future. And so Zionists moved to historical Palestine and started buying up some of the land to slowly occupy it over time, to kind of get like a foothold in the region. And after World War II, the United Nations drew up a map for what would become Israel. And there's a lot more history for this. Obviously, the Holocaust played a big role in justifying the formation of a Jewish state. And the idea of a Jewish state isn't necessarily wrong inherently. It's just enforcing an ethno-state ideology to achieve that is where you get into muddy waters with it. What he's saying here is that all of the Jews magically decided that they were just going to go and form a nation on somebody else's land. That way they didn't have to rely on other countries. It's such a weird framing. And we'll get to the Holocaust revisionist part in a minute. You just got to let him talk.
So Jews around the world, they looked around after that and the ashes of the Second World War and said, never again. That's what that means. It means never again will we allow ourselves to be put in this situation defenseless. Never again will we count on the grace of another country, another people, another culture to defend us.
The way this is framed, when they say never again, when people say never again in reference to the Holocaust, they mean never again will we allow a genocide of a culture or of a people to occur ever again. Never again will we allow another genocide. Which is obviously not true at this point, considering the genocide of Palestinians going on right now. But the phrase never again refers to never again will we allow a genocide to occur. It doesn't mean never again will we rely on groups, or as he says, cultures, to protect us. That's how he frames it. And he even kind of implies that the Jews put themselves in a position to be killed in the Holocaust. That it's almost kind of victim blamey in a way. Isn't that what you kind of picked up on there? It feels almost like he's victim blaming the Jews for being victims of the Holocaust. It's such a weird framing. Like the Jews put themselves in that position, which is not true, obviously. So I don't really know why he's saying this. I don't even know what sparked this whole line of conversation, considering the title of this episode that he's speaking in is about like David Dobrik. I don't know how this got brought up.
As a people, they made that decision then and there, and that was kind of where this is where the ethos of this whole like survival mentality comes from, right? And that's very much still how people feel. I know World War II was a long time ago, but that type of ethos, that's like a uniting kind of essence of Jews everywhere, right? Is that I think that's why most Jews see Israel as an important place, as important to the religion.
Ironically enough, saying that the Holocaust is why, you know, Jews look to Israel and love it so much it's ironic because Israel views the Jews who were killed in the Holocaust and the ones that survived it as being like an inferior Jew. Like that's how a lot of Israelis view European Jews. And Benjamin Netanyahu himself is even a Holocaust revisionist by claiming that the Grand Mufti convinced Adolf Hitler to go from being annoyed by the Jews to going towards wanting to murder all of the Jews. Like he straight up says that Hitler didn't want to kill the Jews until the Grand Mufti got involved. Like that's a level of Holocaust revisionism that makes this super ironic.
80% or 70% polled said they think Israel's important to being Jewish because it is that. It is symbolically that. It is the promise that Jews made after World War II to never again depend on another people's generosity to defend them. You know? And so...
And ironically, the U.S. does, in fact... Israel does, in fact, depend on the U.S. to defend it. So his point doesn't really work here. I also love that he's using, like, these random statistics he pulled out of the air and this whole story to justify why Israel needs to exist, not acknowledging that the way that it exists right now is wrong, that it having to constantly war with neighboring nations is why people don't like it. People don't hate Israel because it's the Jewish homeland. They don't like Israel because they kill babies, because they suck up our tax dollars, because they're murdering children and families and innocent people in Gaza at an unprecedented rate. And they keep provoking new conflicts and wars with neighboring nations. That is why people don't like Israel. I know that there are anti-Semitic Nazis out there that don't like Israel because they hate Jews. I know that. And those people are wrong. They hate Israel for the wrong reasons. But the people that hate Israel for the reasons I just listed before all of that, you know, the tax dollar thing and the killing innocent babies and warring with neighboring nations, the people that hate Israel for those reasons are justified for hating Israel for those reasons.
Now, there's lots to debate around all of the establishment of Israel, how it came to be, the Nakba, and all that kinds of stuff. But I do think it's important to bear in mind the philosophy, the mentality, the survival instincts that kicked in after World War II that persist to this day. And I mean, of course, the Israelis feel that every day. They're surrounded by countries that have been continually in trying to war with them, destroy them.
And then here's where he tries to explain the Nakba. I don't think I'll watch the full clip because it's really long, but we'll watch a part of it.
You know what happened one day before the Nakba? I don't know if people don't really talk about this. One day before the Nakba. People don't know. What happened one day before the Nakba?
Now, why is he even talking about this? What is the point of this? This is like being like, I'll get to it in a second.
Palestinians are living at home?
What?
I said
like, wow. I don't like AB very much, but you know what? Whatever. I'll give him a point for that one.
Palestinians were living at home?
Well, sure.
Yep.
And you know what else happened?
This dude looks miserable, man. He looks so bad. Ugh.
Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, all invaded Israel to kill everybody there.
I really do hate this framing that every time a country attacks Israel, they want to slaughter every single citizen living there. I really do hate that framing.
Unilaterally, there was 5 Arab countries that unilaterally unified to invade Israel and kill every fucking person there or remove them forcibly. It was the invading fucking Arab armies that told the Palestinians to leave and come back when the war was over.
That is some crazy Nakba revisionism. That is some crazy Nakba revisionism. Not only does he revise when the Nakba started, the Nakba slowly started in 1947 with a series of various attacks by Israeli armies against Palestinians living in what is now Israel proper, what is at the time historical Palestine. A series of attacks over the course of a few months, like slowly escalating more and more, this conflict brewing in the region. They're essentially a foreign occupying force invading this land. And attacking these people that have always lived on this land, this indigenous people that live on this land. And neighboring Arab countries, yes, they did fight Israeli forces, but they didn't tell the Palestinians to leave. Like, this is ridiculous and crazy. The Palestinians were driven out of the area and then not allowed to return. It's essentially the modern Trail of Tears, which is insane that I'm saying it like that, because the Trail of Tears was like 200 years ago. So we're not that far off. Like, the Nakba and the Trail of Tears were only about 120 something years apart. So this is just such a crazy revisionist view of the Nakba.
They thought they were going to steamroll all the Jews living there. They didn't. They lost the war, and a lot of the Palestinians who were told to leave and come back never got to come back home. Now a lot of Palestinians did stay in Israel, and those people are citizens today.
I like how he won't answer the fact that Palestinians weren't allowed to return home. He doesn't talk about that part. Like, he mentions it here, but he doesn't say why. And he never elaborates as to why wouldn't the new occupiers of the Israeli state, why wouldn't they allow the Palestinians a right to return? Why is that?
2 million plus of them live in Israel proper, which I think is the correct term, not greater Israel, which is something else.
Jesus Christ, that's where I'm going to stop the clip. It's also ironic that he always loves talking about what he calls the 1948 war. He loves always talking about the Nakba in this weird, like, pro-Israel way. He loves talking about the 1948 war. He loves always talking about the origin of Israel and sort of like a righteous, Israel has the absolute right to exist, and it was just a given that eventually it was going to be created, and that it just had to happen this way. But he also, like, not only because he also lies about the origin of Israel, like I just showed you, and all that stuff, but he won't even mention everything that's happened after that, leading up to October 7th and the genocide. He won't even talk about any of the events between that. I know he's made his little post about Benjamin Netanyahu in 2021 as like his scapegoat to show that he won't even talk about that anymore. He won't even mention that post anymore. And he's one of those liberal Zionists that uses Netanyahu as a scapegoat without realizing that it's like most of the Knesset agrees with those ideologies, that most of the Israeli citizens are okay with the Israeli government flattening Gaza and invading it and taking it over. But he never mentions like the war in the 60s where Egypt went for land grabs and took the Sinai Peninsula and occupied Gaza and occupied the West Bank. He won't talk about their illegal occupation of the Golan Heights and how a lot of parts of Israel actually do recognize the Golan Heights as being part of Israel, even though the international community does not recognize it. He won't talk about how Trump allowing the Israeli embassy to go to Jerusalem fueled the fire for what would eventually lead up to the October 7th attacks. All of these events eventually leading up to the October 7th attacks. It's literally just like 9/11. That the foreign policy of a major superpower meddling in foreign affairs leads to a horrific one-time terrorist attack. And then that powerful country uses that to justify 1 billion of those types of attacks on other populations. Like the US using 9/11 to justify doing a new 9/11 in Iraq like every day for 10 years almost. And then reinvading to fight terrorist cells that we directly led to the creation of because of our actions in the Iraq War. Israel has done like a new October 7th like every week at this point. Like they have committed a new October 7th in Gaza like every week. You know, I really do hate that Ethan twists himself into like a 17 fold tied fucking pretzel to justify Israel's existence in its current state. Anyway, that's my quick little aside that I spent 20 minutes on. Oops. If that even stays in the final episode. I don't know if I'm going to keep it in the final episode. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be a Patreon exclusive. Maybe it won't be. I'm a little nervous to talk about him publicly. But maybe it'll stay in. Who knows? But yeah, so that's the episode this week. Bit of a fiery one. I'm trying to flex my political muscle a little bit more. Instead of just talking about events happening, I give my takes. I give my thoughts. You know, if you want to learn more about the Nakba and the origins of the creation of Israel and all the history leading up to now, you can find reliable sources on that. Let me find. There's this one guy that studied it, and he makes pretty good videos about this stuff. Where's his YouTube channel? Are they suppressing his YouTube channel? That's weird. Okay. Yeah, that's really weird. I couldn't find his channel. But he makes pretty good videos about Israel, and I'm sure you can learn a lot of historical context and insightful knowledge about Israel and historic Palestine and the treatment of the Palestinians from this guy. His name is Chris Kunzler. And he's pretty well educated on the topic. And so, if you want to learn more about it, he doesn't have a whole lot of videos, but they're pretty long, so you know, you can enjoy them. But yeah, he's pretty good. Watch these videos if you want to learn more. If you want to be more well informed. Yeah, if you want to be more well informed about the topic. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to support us, patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. If you want to listen to us on other platforms, we are on other platforms, including, but not limited to, the Samsung Smart Fridge and Apple Podcast. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, free Palestine and peace.